Hi, everybody. It's Sallie Wagner with High Frequency Mindset. And joining us today is Rita Karydas with Living Balance. Rita, welcome.
Thank you, Sallie. I appreciate you having me.
Well, and I'm very happy that you're here today. And I can't wait for you to share some information about you and your business. So why don't you start out and just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you got to that point?
Okay, sounds great. Oh, it's a long story, Sallie, because I started way back when I was 19 years old, and I was in an abusive marriage, and I was really fortunate that I wanted to help him, and I realized listening to my heart that I was the one that I needed to help. And so I was able to get out of that within a year. And that started my life journey. I didn't really understand intuition at that time. I just knew that I had something, a power greater than me that was guiding me if I would listen. And it
Yeah.
worked great when I did. And then, I
Isn't
continued.
that the challenge though, to listen?
Right. And then I continued my journey, learning more about my physical being because I was having a lot of minor ailments, allergies, ear problems, sore throats, and I was on over the counter meds and prescription meds. And I just felt there was a better way. Doctors were just saying you'll have to live with the allergies. And so at that point, I started learning about organic gardening and food co-ops. I started incorporating yoga and meditation into my life and using herbs as a way to support my body.
hmm That's fabulous. I went through a similar experience with illness and was told what you were told, just live with it. And that's not a very satisfying answer.
Yeah, it's not acceptable.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
exactly.
my journey just continued with um, so many different things that happened, and the highlights have been that, of course, I started to grow mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. I started to learn more about myself, and I started sharing with other people, and then I got to a point where I started sharing with these were people that I didn't really know at first. And I just met through doing shows and being in classes. And then I got to a point where I was just really excited about everything that was going on in my life and started sharing with my friends and family. And they just they didn't want to hear. They weren't interested in my journey, which was okay. But at that point in my life, it made me kind of go into my shell. And
hmm
I didn't share for a long time. And then I came out of my shell because I started learning more about mindset and how this is my life and I write the story.
Yes.
So I just started changing my mindset and I started continuing to do meditation. I got certified to teach yoga. I started learning about essential oils. And then in 2018, I started learning about Aroma Freedom, which is just an amazing technique. And it's based on neuroscience. And it's a way to get your fixed mindset where it's flowing in a positive direction. And so creativity and new beliefs and guidance comes to you. And it's also based on aroma. So it's just a beautiful technique. And aroma, a lot of people don't realize that when you smell something, it's the only sense that we have that goes directly into your brain. So it affects the limbic system, which is the seat of our emotions, and then affects the amygdala and the hippocampus. And it's a way, if you're smelling aromas that are pleasing to you, it's a way to reset your brain.
hmm
So it's just a fascinating technique. So I started learning about that. And then by the end of, March of 2020, I had completed my certification to be a certified Aroma Freedom practitioner.
Fascinating. Yeah, aromas, fragrances are so important. It's that frequency, right, of the energy,
Yes.
and it's smells, the fragrances are so evocative, and I mean, it's like when you smell something, it can take you back to that moment in time. That's how powerful it is. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And that's what it does. It brings up, this technique. There's numerous techniques, but the aroma freedom technique in particular um, brings up negative thoughts and feelings and memories that are interfering with our life and memories.
Mhm.
So it's a very safe space because people don't have to tell me those thoughts or the memories. It's not that. So it's amazing what happens when you start smelling the oils into that memory.
Mhm.
And usually we have to do more than one round, but it's just a beautiful transformation.
Sure. Yeah, and because it's a frequency, it changes the frequency. It can
Yes,
elevate the frequency to get out of those negative things that we carry with us, right? We carry those things in
absolutely.
our bodies, we carry them in our psyches, and the way to reach those is through something like what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's wonderful. I love it.
yeah. Yeah, obviously. So if you could maybe describe what a session might be like when someone comes to you to address a
Okay.
particular issue.
So the aroma freedom technique is where you're taking a goal that you really want to happen, but you're not sure how it can. And then we go through the step-by-step process. You're listening for that negative thought that's telling you this can't happen, a feeling word where you're feeling it in your body. And then you're drifting back to a memory where you felt the same way.
Mhm.
And once you have it, you just say, got it. Then you start smelling a particular blend, which we call aroma release blend, and that's stress away lavender and frankincense, all equal parts mixed together. And then sometimes the memory starts to fade, sometimes another memory comes in, sometimes it gets more intense. So we just work with each individual and do another round of this. And then at the end, when after at least 2 or 3 rounds, there's just a new belief and divine guidance, and it's just like so amazing. And so then from that point we deal with writing an affirmation. It could be the same as the goal or a little bit different. You know how affirmations go. They could even change as you're saying them throughout the days. And so you have homework, you have action steps. So one of the action steps is doing your affirmation in a power pose, smelling a particular oil, transformation or believe. And then also, what are the other action steps? At least one other action step we talk about. And then you do that affirmation in your power pose for 3 days, twice a day for 2 minutes, and smelling your oil. And it's just beautiful. It's just really empowering. And in between this, the memory release blend and the affirmation, there's a couple of other oils that we use. One is inner child, and the other is release.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
That sounds like an amazing experience, and I love the action steps that you've included, because that it helps facilitate the transformation and also reinforces it, right?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's that mindset. And I know as well as I do. It takes work. It takes um, tenacity and
Mhm.
dedication and showing up every single day. So
Yeah.
it's not something that you just do once and then, oh, it didn't work.
Right.
You have to keep up with it.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's is such an important point, because it's not just gonna, I mean, it can seem like magic, right? And yet it
Yeah.
doesn't just magically instantaneously happen. It's that day by day system and process that we put into place to get us where we want to go. The vision, the goal, all of those things are fabulous. And yet it's the daily step that we take that's going to get us there.
Yes, absolutely. And another big thing, Sallie, I feel is that we have to be able to sail with the wind, because sometimes, our goals, we really want them and we dissolve a lot of things that are getting in our way, but then all of a sudden they may not happen exactly the way we wanted them to. And it's a matter of just sitting back, letting go, opening yourself up, your heart to what is it? Show me the way, and just, flow with the wind.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes we can be so attached to the goal that we have set for ourselves that we fail to see the greater good that we could reach for. And so one of the nice things to include in affirmations or afformations, whichever you're using, is this or something greater, right?
Yes.
Sometimes, and you mentioned it, we have blocks, we have limitations in what we can see, and we want to allow for the fact that we do have those limitations, and perhaps there's something even greater that is there for us when we open up that vision to the possibility.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing work. And I just love the journey that you took to get to where you are. Each part is important, right? It's an important part of the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I share with other women now, because it took me decades to get to the point I am right now. And I don't want it to be that hard for other people. It doesn't have to be, because I didn't know along my journey to reach out for help.
Yeah.
I did this on my own, figuring it all out, and being, thinking I had to be strong. And I was the teacher. I was the yoga teacher. I taught, many classes about essential oils and health and wellness. And, I just didn't know how to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that happens to a lot of us. We think we have to do it on our own, and yet reaching out and asking for help and being willing to receive help, that's such an important part of building resilience, which is a huge indicator of our success, right? When we're resilient and when we have that community. I was talking with someone yesterday, and her doctoral dissertation is on the power of the aggregate, building that community and being able to enlist others as our allies and ask them for help when we need it. It's such an important growth step, really.
So important.
Yeah. And as you said, sometimes it takes a while to get to that point because we've been conditioned that we shouldn't ask for help.
Yeah.
Just go it alone.
Right. Yeah. And we know better now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And life is always happening. It's not like, because I am an empowered woman, that things don't happen. I don't have challenges. I just know how to deal with them.
Yeah.
And instead of being stuck for weeks or months, I get out of it quickly, because we're going to always have things happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of our reality, right? That there's always something. And yet it goes back to what you said about mindset. When you have a different mindset about it, then it's like, okay, well, this is it. I'm going to deal with it and I'm going to move on. We don't get bogged down in it and weighed down in the drama and the trauma of it.
Yeah.
Such an important ability.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question, and you've said some things that maybe have me thinking about and I don't want to taint the waters and speculate what your answer might be. So in my coaching work, I talk a lot about MSG, and that stands for mindset, skill set, get off your asset, right? And it talks about some of the things. Well, it encapsulates a lot of really important concepts, right? Because
mindset. Could you say that again? Mindset.
Yeah. Mindset, skill set, get off your asset.
I love that.
Thank you. And obviously mindset is the most important. And many times we need a new skill set to have the right mindset, because we're not taught mindset things, right? We have to.
Yes.
And so we need those new skills. And then as our mindset evolves and changes, then we're going to have new skills to take us even further. So skill set, super important. And yet, when we don't take action, nothing happens. It's just philosophy. And I love how you talked about the action steps that people get when they work with you. So having said that, as you look at your life and your business, is there a principle that you see played out that you would identify as contributing to your success?
Yes, it's the M's, mindset, meditation, movement, manifestation, and then there's a D in there, dream. So I don't have something cute like what you just said, but I need to figure something out. I like that. But it's a whole lifestyle. You can't just do one without the other.
Right.
And you have to, like I said earlier, you have to be committed. You have to have tenacity and show up every day, because you are the only one that can make a difference in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So mindset, obviously, the meditation, I think that helps you with the mindset, perhaps.
Yeah. Yes, because, meditation to me there's so many different forms of meditation. You can sit quietly, you can chant, you can do guided meditations, visualizations, you can go for a walk in nature, go for a swim, even if you're house cleaning. If you're in the present moment and being grateful for where you are right now, that's a form of meditation.
Exactly. I mean, meditation is not always the sitting meditation like we, the kind of the stereotypical thing that we think of. They're all types of meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you said movement.
Yes. And what I mean about movement is just figure out something. For me, it's yoga. I love yoga, although, my husband and I have electric bikes, so we do a lot of biking, and I like pickleball. I like walking, swimming, there's a lot of things, just anything nature. I like being out in nature. So any kind of movement, and even movement can even mean getting a massage or a Reiki treatment, because you're moving that energy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, because our bodies ultimately are energy. And when we start at the source, which is the energy, then it's going to have impact throughout our bodies. Yes. And then your last point, I believe, was dream. Did I get everything?
It was a manifestation.
Oh, manifestation.
And we talked a little bit about manifestation, and manifestation and dreaming really go hand in hand. And it's about, letting go, being clear on what you want, but also being open to the infinite possibilities that are out there, because maybe they'll change directions. And there's been times in my life that I thought, this is what I really, really want. And it didn't happen. And when I learned to just flow with it, sometimes those things happen years later.
Yes.
Or they don't happen, and another door opens that's even better.
Yeah.
So we just have to be open when we're manifesting things, and be careful with our words, because that's another important thing that I like to share with my clients, is that what are we thinking? What are our words, and what are our actions? Because all of that is creating what's around us right now. It's created our life. So if we don't like something, then let's change. Let's do something different.
Absolutely. And what you said, so important. We must be careful. We must specify. I've had that reinforced to me recently, and I think I'm very specific with things, and yet I missed a little bit of a nuance, and I love to tell the joke, the guy who wishes for $1 million and suddenly he's surrounded by deer, we,
Oh, that's so cute.
we must be very specific, because
Yes.
the universe listens, and we get it, and the universe has a sense of humor, honestly. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it's also important to love yourself enough to, it's okay if you mess up and you're thinking things that aren't of value to you. You just change your thoughts. You just work on it.
Of course.
And just accept yourself the way you are and do the best you can, because it's a process. As long as you keep going and you want to grow and you want that expansion and transformation, then it'll happen.
Absolutely. You made a really important point earlier about it. It takes time. It's sometimes we hear the flashy people who talk about, oh, manifest it, you think it, and it's going to happen instantly. They kind of convey that message, and yet that's not always how it happens. And I remember, maybe a couple of years ago now, having a conversation with my daughter, and I said, the life I'm living right now is the life that I envisioned for myself decades ago, without ever knowing how it could possibly happen. And it's like one day it just hit me, kind of like, oh my gosh, this is it. Obviously, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen instantaneously, and yet it happened. And it was the culmination of many, many life events. And so we need to open ourselves up to what manifestation really is, and what it means, and how it can manifest in our lives.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. It's an amazing thing. And another experience I had, and I think this is an important point, is the thing that we want to manifest happens first inside us. And I mentioned an illness that I had, and going to many types of doctors, exploring many types of treatments, and with no progress. And then one day I woke up and I was healed. And as I tell the story, I always say, it wasn't that I changed my life and I was healed. I was healed and I changed my life to reflect that. And clearly for me, the change happened within, and then it manifested itself in my life.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how it's happened for me. It's just, it's just surprises you. It's like, oh, sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. We're just doing the work and we're wanting to help people and we're loving it and enjoying our life. And then we have to step back and go, oh, look at this.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It is an amazing experience. And as you move along the journey, as you said, open yourself up to that flow, you see it more and more in your life and in the lives of others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can, of course, if they're on Facebook or LinkedIn, they can message me. And also I have a website, livingbalance.co. And I have a Facebook group that I would love anyone to join. It is Living Balance Community for Ambitious Entrepreneurs.
I love that. So I will put all of that information in the show notes, and that way people can get in touch with you. And we'll also be sending out some promotionals that will include that information with your contact as well.
Thank you, Sallie.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I'm so happy you're here today, and I loved our conversation.
Thank you. And you're welcome. And I did too.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and tune in again next time to High Frequency Mindset.